So, what is it like to lose a life partner? I lost my wife of 51 years last year. Not hasn't even been a year yet. And it's really difficult to explain what that's like. I wanted to take care of her. We both wanted her to go first. I wanted to take care of her. She wanted me to take care of her. And I was privileged to be the one who came home to an empty house. So we had a little gathering, a memorial for her, a little bit after her passing. And I was still at the stage of every time I would remember something, I would cry. And it was hard to, we played some of her favorite songs, some of the songs that got her through her last days. And it was hard to be there and do that. Uh, that's the way it had to be. But in some ways, looking back, I wish I'd been able to be enough composed to really celebrate her. But that's the reality of it. The tears come when you don't expect it. And you take it one day at a time. And you don't know where you're going, but your life knows where it's going, I guess. It you go one day at a time, and maybe you learn one lesson at a time. And first, I realized that the cost of making your own meals and all of that, I was glad to pay. So I was fortunate that my wife, I heard her voice more than once. At first, she said, I will always be with you, Scott." And that was amazing. A day or two later, I said, "How is it where you are, Leanne?" And she said, "Oh, Scott, it's so wonderful." And that actually spoke a great truth that she was doing well and that life is sacred. It was obvious that she wanted me to live. You know, at first they say that after long-term marriage, when one partner goes, the other one's gone within a year, and you feel that. And if that's the case, then that's good. You can go, you can go and be with your loved one. But if it's not the case and you have a lot of life left to live, then the only way to honor your loved ones is to take full advantage of that. So that's can be easier said than done, because when she died, a part of me died too. And I could not realize the depth. Sure, I knew, but I couldn't realize the depth of her imprint in my life, in my nervous system. I'm a Feldenkrais practitioner, so we tend to look at things in terms of the nervous system. But in terms of nervous system and habit, there was no deeper imprint in me. We had relied on each other for so many years, all the feedback, all the comfort, that's gone. And then I found myself, without doing it so consciously, of course, you want to have friends now. So you reach out, try to make connections. But I found myself not wanting to date, not wanting to get back out there, especially right away. I mean, the The idea of being with someone else is just not there. And I didn't do that, but I found myself constantly looking with the heart. Even when I didn't want to, I was looking for a way to fill that gap. And even when I didn't want to, I couldn't help it. And I had a number of realizations. I realized that you can look backwards with thankfulness, and that can give you joy in the present moment. And you're grateful for all the times you had together. But what you can't do is look back trying to grasp what is not there. Look back trying, saying, I wish I had that. That immediately lets you step off the cliff to the wrong side of grief. It's painful, and it really doesn't honor your loved one. What honors them is the being thankful and the remembrance and the fun times and the courage they showed. So I learned that you can only look at the past in one way. And once you experience and feel that, you don't want to do the other way because it feels like danger. Don't go there. So you learn that, but there's more layers. And you try to walk each day, still not fully comprehending what's happened. And when in my life I thought that I knew what grounding was, and I had used that idea, that concept, that feeling in the body to bring myself into the present reality, say when I was at work or doing things, but I had never been tasked to find that grounding in lack of close relationship. It had always been there. So I think it was certainly something I did not consciously know how to handle and couldn't have known how to handle. But it certainly wouldn't go away. Something imprinted that deeply in you does not go away without some conscious learning. And I had an episode in the grocery store one time, and I was just getting my groceries. I went down kind of an empty aisle, and all of a sudden I had a realization that brought tears to me right away, because words came to what I had not acknowledged. And I said, I want a woman in my life. And then I realized I did not want to want a woman in my life. In other words, I did not want to be acting compulsively. But it was another look at what's going on inside. You can't ignore it. And that wasn't enough. There were more layers. And I continued to find myself not wanting to, but acting rather compulsively, looking everywhere, just, in trying to fill a need instead of just being me. And then one day, I really didn't know how to be by myself. And one day, I had a few hours to spare. And at the end of the day, it was so pleasant to be able to sit and reflect. I guess you could say, meditate, be still. And there was no one around to the walls of the house were like a sanctuary. There was no one to talk to, no one to interrupt. And I realized the blessing of that. And it began to crack a little window in me. And then not long after that, I was doing a long kind of a walk run down the railroad tracks, not the railroad tracks, but the access road beside them by my house. It was very quiet. There was no one out there. No one walks miles out there. Pretty much no one. And I began to feel and sense this place right here when you're still, you're with yourself, and you realize that is the only thing, that is the only place you have to come home to. That is the only place where you can find security, where you can find strength, where you can enjoy being yourself. That is the only place of sanity. That is the only place of being. There is nothing anywhere in the world, anywhere in the universe that can provide you with something that is better than that. And so I began to say, I could be alone. That was not my life's habit. I did not want my wife to be gone. But it cracked the door. And once you've done that, once you've experienced that place, I think I had experienced it, a place of stillness before many times, but not with this application, not with this situation. And it really began to take the compulsiveness away from that part of my life. And it also opened me up to relating to the world, other people, or even having a deep relationship in a way that honors Leanne, because I'm continuing to learn what love is. You cannot love if you're not comfortable and joyful and peaceful in yourself. Otherwise, you have qualities of attachment, possessiveness, those things that actually take away from a meaningful relationship. They take away from the idea of what real love is, appreciation for someone else. They twist love in a slightly selfish direction. And I know that's what this was all about. That's why I'm here. She lived her life. She lived it bravely. She lived every day. And now it's up to me to continue to learn these lessons of love. I'm giving this back to her as well as to myself and everyone else. So this is the most profound lesson I think that we can learn, to be joyful in ourselves when we have no one else. So thank you for listening to this. I hope maybe you found something of use here.